NFL free agency starts on March 11th, which means a handful of teams are going to be looking for some of these upgrades in free agency. So in today's video, I want to look at an article that talks about the best team fits for the top 50, that's 50 players in free agency. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new and enjoy. Let's hop into it. So as you can see, we are actually on ESPN. I want to give a big shout out here to Matt Bowen, who wrote this article, best team fits for the top 50 players in free agency. We're going to work away from the bottom, working from 50 to number 1 because, I got to keep you guys here for a little longer, you feel me? With that said, if I could find it here, let's start off at number 50 with Alex Anzalone going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This makes a lot of sense. That Buccaneers linebacker core is just a very old unit. Probably need to get some replacements, some definite upgrades. Alex Anzalone, while not the youngest guy in the world, is still fairly young, still very productive. He fits the timeline for Tampa Bay, who's trying to win now. So I think this is a pretty solid fit. I also like the New York Jets for Alex Anzalone. Just simply put, going from Aaron Glenn in Detroit, then Aaron Glenn in New York. He's their type. I think it could make some sense because the Jets also need that veteran presence in their linebacking core. Moving to 49, we got Kenneth Gainwell going to the New Orleans Saints. I find this one to be a little interesting. I kind of feel like Kenneth Gainwell's best fit is just to return to Pittsburgh because this was really his best year of his career. And why not go back to the team that you had your most success in? But going to Kenneth Gainwell to New Orleans could make a little bit of some sense. I mean, they do have a number of options in that running back room, but I don't know if they really have, the versatility of Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know if Kenneth Gainwell would be in my top 50 free agents. I think he had a great year this year. Made a lot of plays for that Pittsburgh offense, an offense that was just desperate to find any sort of weapons out there, and Kenneth Gainwell stepped up to the plate and actually did a pretty decent job. So going to the New Orleans Saints, going to that young roster, I don't necessarily hate it. 48, Nakobe Dean going to the Minnesota Vikings. Interesting fit here. I mean, Minnesota, they don't really have a massive linebacker problem, but I mean, why not continue to upgrade on your defense? I found this one to be a little fascinating because Minnesota's like second to dead last in cap space, so prioritizing a linebacker to me doesn't make a ton of sense. Again, for Nakobe Dean, I think going to a team like Tampa Bay would make a lot of sense. The Dallas Cowboys need linebackers. Maybe even the New York Giants to be your Micah McFadden replacement. Like, I think that could make some sense. I just don't feel like Minnesota would be like the best fit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Dean could fit there perfectly, but in terms of like the team having the money, the team having the need, I don't really feel like linebacker and Nakobe Dean should be on top of their list. But if this were to be a marriage, I mean, yeah, it'd be an awesome marriage. I think Nakobe Dean could have a lot of success in Brian Flores' system. Moving over here to Kobe Bryant to the New England Patriots. Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, if they don't bring back Jalen Hawkins, then yeah, I could definitely see this being a team need. I don't think that Kobe Bryant would go from one Super Bowl team to another Super Bowl team. That would just be a little bit surprising. But honestly, even with Jalen Hawkins, I think that there could be a usage for both those safeties. I don't hate the idea at all of New England trying to upgrade the back end of their defense with the safety room, but I think they just bring back Jalen Hawkins and prioritize the offensive line. That's probably their biggest need. But for Kobe, I mean, there's a lot of places he could go. I think Cincinnati makes a ton of sense. I just did a Cincinnati mock-off season, and one of the moves I did make was bringing them Kobe Bryant to fix up their back end. I think the Dallas Cowboys, again, they need badly safety some help. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could use safeties. I don't know if the Patriots would be like my top team out there that could use Kobe Bryant, but I mean, they do have a bit of cap space, so I can kind of see this one happening. Moving on, Rico Dallas to the Denver Broncos. I don't hate this one at all. I mean, especially if J.K. Dobbins does not return, then a J.K. and R.J. Harvey combination was supposed to be the big thing, but J.K. dealt with the injury. But potential Rico and R.J. Harvey combo makes a ton of sense. Rico, very explosive. You can use him in a variety of different ways. He could be used in the passing game as well. R.J. Harvey had a pretty decent rookie season, so I definitely think that there is a combination here that could easily work out. Also, I know, dude, I have a neck beard right now. It's going to be gone by the next video. I apologize. It's bothering me. I'm like sitting here looking at him like, golly, I look like a damn mess on the screen right now. 45, Leo Chanel going to Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, this is a good fit. The Bengals linebacking core has young bodies, like they got young pieces, but none of them are really like worked out a whole bunch. So the idea of pairing, their younger guys with a veteran like a Leo Chanel makes a lot of sense. I think I actually did Alex Anzalone for them on that mock offseason video as well. So they're kind of on the same wavelength. Chanel a little bit younger, so it fits their timeline perfectly. Does a lot of great things in that back end and really solid in coverage, gets downhill in a hurry. Kansas City probably won't be able to afford him because they're the lowest in cap space, at least from last time I checked. So going to Cincinnati makes a lot of sense for both parties. All right, we got Jaquan Brisker going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't hate this one at all. I mean, look, anytime you can get a strong safety of the caliber of a Jaquan Brisker, somebody that is the perfect modern, close to the line of scrimmage, can play the box, can play in the nickel, can play a little bit deep as well, playmaker. I mean, yeah, I think you should totally do it. Pittsburgh has enough cap space to where they should at least consider this. I wouldn't say that safety is their biggest of needs. Obviously, receiver, offensive line, quarterback, those are the big three. Then probably corner and I guess safety would be another position there. So, with them having a ton of cap space, if they were to make a move for a quarterback in the draft or stick with Howard and maybe draft a receiver, and then Jaquan Brisker being one of your free agent pickups, I think that could make a lot of sense. Plus, Jaquan Brisker does feel like a Pittsburgh Steelers type of move. Like, this is the type of move that they would actually make. So I could see that one. 43, Cade Mays going to the Arizona Cardinals. Don't hate this one at all. There's a lot of teams that could use a center like Cade Mays, who's just a really capable starter, which ironically they say exactly right here. He's just a very capable starter. Like, he's not great necessarily, but he's really solid. I think Carolina should definitely want to bring him back, but man, 2018 that needs a center, like Los Angeles Chargers, potentially the Baltimore Ravens if they lose Linderbaum, the Arizona Cardinals. Like, there's just so many teams that would have interest in the skill set of Cade Mays because he is just very, very solid. So this one makes a lot of sense to me. 42, we got Joel Bitonio going back to the Cleveland Browns. Interesting here. I feel like it makes some sense. Like, he is 34 years old. The likelihood that he's wanting to go and travel elsewhere, not too sure. I mean, when he's healthy, he's a solid offensive line piece. And for the Cleveland Browns, yeah, you probably wouldn't be dumb to bring him back on a 1-year deal. Just say, hey, give us one more year while we try to bridge the gap into the future. We probably need to address offensive line heavily in this year's draft and free agent market. Bringing back Bitonio could just be one of those things where it's like, just start for us for like 1 more year, and then next year we'll finally replace you. So that would make some sense. I also like the idea of like a New York Giants or, again, the Los Angeles Chargers. Like, those could make some sense as well. 41, we have Cam Curl. And the fit there is the Chicago Bears. I mean, obviously, that makes a lot of sense, especially if they were to lose Brisker and Byard. Those are two playmakers in the back end that you're going to have to find a way to replace. You get a guy like Cam Curl who, man, he's a really good run defender. Not the greatest athlete in the world, but, honestly can do a variety of things close to the line of scrimmage, especially if you do bring back Kevin Byard, who can play a bit more of the back end and be sort of that free roamer in the back. I kind of like that pairing. Again, if you lose Jaquan Brisker, my best case scenario is that you bring back both these guys and then, try to upgrade in the draft because it's a good safety class. But if you would rather spend your draft assets on like the defensive line / linebacker core, then maybe a guy like a Cam Curl can make a lot of sense for a fairly, cheaper contract. I think LA should try and bring him back, but if they don't, then yeah, I don't think so. Then I think Chicago makes a lot of sense. Wan'Dale Robinson, New York Jets. Love that fit. I also think there's just a lot of teams that could use a slot receiver of the Wan'Dale type, somebody that can just eat up targets for like breakfast, basically. He's not going to be like the most impactful guy, and you don't have to put your number one corner on him, but you put him next to a Garrett Wilson-like player, plus you have Adonai Mitchell on the outside, and you have that flexibility to move inside and out. I don't hate this one at all. I think any team that has like a young quarterback would love to have Wan'Dale. Here we go. We have Chig Okonkwo going to the New England Patriots. Pretty interesting. Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry both entering the final year of their contracts. Good to know. Josh McDaniels loves to play 2 tight end sets. If you want look for maybe more of a receiving threat than Hunter Henry. I mean, we kind of saw in the Super Bowl that their tight end core just like kind of didn't show up. So a Chig Okonkwo could be, a younger option for Drake May while also being kind of he's not young, but he's not old. But also maybe being a bit more of a higher upside player than Hunter Henry, I guess. By the way, Indiana passes bill to lure Bears from Chicago. What a freaking story that one was. Joey Bosa going to the Detroit Lions. Hell yeah. And Hutchinson needs a rushing partner. I mean, you could bring back Muhammad, but even if you do bring back Muhammad is 30 years old and is coming off kind of a career year. So can he replicate that every single year? I don't know. Bringing in a Joey Bosa, though, who, look, he's not the best run defender at this stage of his career, but you know what? He can absolutely go and get after the quarterback. He's on the downward trajectory, clearly, but I wouldn't be afraid to, make a move for a Joey Bosa if it was like a 1-year, fairly cheap contract. Like, that's kind of what Detroit's working with here to try and go all in for a championship, bringing in veterans on 1-year deals and seeing if they can put it all together. So I don't hate this one at all. 37, we have a Nahshon Wright, man. Shout out to Nahshon Wright, man. What a year he had. Going to the New York Giants. Here's my thing with the Nashawn Wright thing. Nashawn had a spectacular season, and he fits the system that I think the Giants want to work with in the future. I do like have skepticism about whether or not he's going to be able to consistently replicate that level of productivity and just the level of play. Because, you know, as a Cowboys fan, I could tell you Nashawn Wright was not great for Dallas. Like, he was just kind of another body in the room, and he breaks out with the Chicago Bears. If I was Nashawn, I would do everything in my power to return to Chicago, unless they're going to try and cheat me out on a contract. Then, you know what? Go get paid. New York, I think, could make some sense. You have Javon Holland in the back end. You have a top 5 pick. I'm trying to think of the corner they signed last year. They signed a corner last year. It was kind of up and down. Nashawn Wright being that CB2, being that playmaker in the back end. Honestly, I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all. Here we go. We have David Edwards to the Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, this is an ideal fit. Edwards is just such a solid guard player, man. He gets downhill and run blocks well. He can push people in pass blocking. He's one of the best guards in the league. You put him in Los Angeles that could just desperately use the play of a David Edwards to upgrade over the Mekhi Becton and Zion Johnson duo. Yeah, this would make a lot of sense. Plus, LA has a shit ton of money, so I love that one. Connor McGovern going back to the Buffalo Bills. For the Bills, it feels like you have to bring back at least one of these guys. Obviously, you'd like to keep both of them, but you definitely got to keep at least one. And if you can bring back McGovern, maybe you draft a guard in free agency or in free agency in the draft. Fortunately, interior offensive line is not the hardest position to find, competent play, but losing one of these two guys would suck. And for the Chargers to try and poach one of these two, yeah, I think they definitely should. Here we go. We got Greg Newsome going to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, don't hate that one at all. This was a secondary in Green Bay that heavily struggled, and now you got Jonathan Gannon in the fold. They mentioned it here, a very zone-heavy scheme. Greg Newsome, pretty good zone corner. I don't hate that fit at all. Green Bay with Micah Parsons in the fold, getting him back and healthy. You have a couple bodies in that corner room that you feel okay with. Greg Newsome could just kind of be a plug-and-play type of guy. All right, well, speaking of Zion Johnson, which, by the way, Zion Johnson being in front of David Edwards and Connor McGovern in their rankings, yeah, that's silly talk. Anyways, Las Vegas Raiders, yeah, I mean, it's fine. He's an okay guard, right? That is Zion Johnson. He's young, so that is kind of the plus with Zion. He's not an older player. He's not necessarily like a big-time difference maker, but he's just kind of a steady presence at the guard position, which is fine. And I think for the Raiders, getting some stability at guard for your young quarterback, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. Now, again, putting them in front of David Edwards and McGovern, I just disagree with, but I'm not necessarily saying that he's a bad player. He should be totally fine. Here we go. Reed Blankenship to the Arizona Cardinals. Interesting. Especially if they don't bring back Budda Baker and they have Jalen Thompson. So, actually, no, sorry, not Budda Baker. I meant Jalen Thompson. Especially if they don't bring back Jalen Thompson, then I could definitely see this being a fit here. If I'm Arizona, I would just try and bring back Jalen Thompson and keep that continuity in the back end. But maybe if you think that Blankenship fits your scheme better and maybe a little bit cheaper, I don't really hate that one a ton. He's just a steady presence in the back end. And, I think Philly would like to bring him back, but do they have the finances to bring him back? And, there's going to be a lot of teams interested in Blankenship, and potentially Arizona could be one of them. So don't hate that one. Isaac Simalu going to San Francisco 49ers. This is assuming that Isaac doesn't retire. I'm not sure if he's made that announcement or not. Hopefully not, because he could still absolutely play. Going to San Francisco, upgrading that interior offensive line a little bit, sure, makes a lot of sense, especially if he wants to try and contend for a title. Like the pairing of Isaac, and I don't know if he'd play left or right guard, but if you put him next to Trent Williams, my days, that would be a nasty, big, physical side of the line that I think Niners fans could be very excited about. I don't hate this one at all, by the way. I think this one makes a lot of sense. Would I make this move if I was San Francisco? Yeah, I think I would. I think I would definitely consider it. I think, yes, you are getting a lot older on your offensive line, specifically if you have Trent and Isaac going at the same time, but your window to win is right now, so why not go ahead and just find an upgrade as best you can? 30, we got Boy Mafe. They have him to the Tennessee Titans. That fits a little bit. They need an edge rusher. They need an extra body there. Boy Mafe had a great year for Seattle. Seattle might not be able to afford to bring him back. I mean, they have a ton of money, but they do have to pay Jackson Smith-Njigba, who believes he deserves to be the top paid receiver. Can't say I disagree. Sam Darnold might need a bit of an extension. Like, they have some money they have to move around. So if I'm Boy Mafe, maybe I go get paid by Tennessee, who has a crap ton of money. So I can see that. Dallas Cowboys for Javonte Williams makes a lot of sense. Javonte had a career year, really resurged under Brian Schottenheimer, fits the team, seems like a good locker room presence. Good move there. Interesting. Jawan Jennings to the Carolina Panthers. I don't really see this one. I don't really see this one. Now, maybe you could say that the versatility of Coker and Jennings works and that you just like having three big, tall receivers, but I kind of feel like the Panthers would be much better suited with like a Wan'Dale Robinson or a Mekhi Lemon, like a true different body type with a bit more juice, more of a slot guy, somebody that can find open spots in zone, be a reliable target for Bryce Young, because Fournette and Coker can play a little bit in the slot himself, but these are two big dudes. Like, they're tall and lengthy, and I just would like to see somebody who, man, could just present an open chest for my young quarterback, who is just consistently open and can be a potential like wide receiver 2/3 with Ted and Coker. I don't hate the Jennings signing, but I'm also kind of like, he just feels too similar to what we already have in terms of body types. I would like to see maybe a different type of body type here for Carolina. I think for Jawan Jennings, like, there's a lot of teams out there that could use him. Tennessee, Las Vegas, the New England Patriots. There's a lot of teams out there. So Panthers is one that I haven't quite heard yet there. K'Lavon Chaisson to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't hate that one at all. They could use a different type of body next to Mike Green, playing that outside linebacker role. Draymond Jones, Kyle Van Noy, free agents. Kyle Van Noy, didn't have the productive year. K'Lavon starting to come on in his career. He's still fairly young, can fit that outside linebacker role nicely. And I think he'd fit Mike Vrabel. Or not Mike Vrabel, sorry. I think he would fit Jesse Minter. Sorry, I'm thinking of the Patriots. He could fit Jesse Minter's system. I don't hate this one at all, actually. I think this one makes a lot of sense. 26, we got Rashid Shaheed returning to Seattle. Yeah. Obviously, the big time plays that he made in the postseason. He is a little bit of an older player, but he's got game breaking tendencies, so why not? Here we go. We have Brian Cook going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, we had another safety later down the board that we talked about for Cincinnati. Cincinnati needs two probably safety upgrades. So yeah, I don't hate this one at all. Geno Stone did not work out, and Brian Cook, really, really good versatile safety that can play deep, can play downhill. He just is a upgrade for any team that needs help in the safety room. I also think Dallas is in the fold. I think if the Giants want to find an upgrade with Javon Holland, Brian Cook can make some sense. Cincinnati, I think, also checks a lot of boxes. The New York Jets make a lot of sense. There's just a lot of teams out there. So Brian Cook going to Cincinnati, I like that fit quite a bit. Travis Etienne going to the Kansas City Chiefs. I like this one a lot. Chiefs need a running back starter. They need somebody with some juice in the running back room. Somebody who can be a dual threat guy. You can take the ball out of the backfield, take it on a screen, on a bubble route, stuff like that. I think that with Patrick Mahomes, really good combination right here. I like this fit. Kyle Pitts going back to the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. With Kevin Stefanski now in the fold, I do like this fit a lot more. Stefanski liking these big receiving type of bodies. Look at who he's had in Cleveland with the David Njokus of the world and the Harold Fannons this year. Kyle Pitts kind of fits the mold there. So I like this combination a lot. Even though it's like, for years, it's always been like, oh man, what if Kyle Pitts was on this team with this system? But now it's like, oh, he can stay in Atlanta and hopefully work in a Stefanski system quite well. Khalil Mack to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Interesting. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I say I don't love it because, like, man, you want to just get way older. Like, Khalil Mack he's old, man. He's an old player. And you already kind of have an oldish roster. I feel like they'd be better suited going for somebody younger, like a Jalen Phillips or somebody in the draft. But if you say we want to completely overhaul the edge room and we want to bring in a Khalil Mack and then bring in a Cassius Howell or something like that, cool. I think that could check some boxes. So maybe that's what he would want to see from this unit. They have to get better at getting after the quarterback. I think that makes a lot of sense. I was a little surprised. I thought this was going to be Chicago Bears. I think Chicago Bears makes so much sense for Khalil Mack. Go back to Chicago, man. They need pass rush help. They're in a win now mode. Khalil Mack can contend for a championship. I don't hate this fit with Tampa Bay, but I think Chicago just makes a bit more sense. Romeo Doubs to the Las Vegas Raiders. Fernando Mendoza probably entering the building. He could be looking for somebody that can win a bit downfield. Obviously, Romeo reminds me as like a better Elijah Surratt in a lot of ways. So in terms of Fernando Mendoza, Indiana, Elijah Surratt, looking for a big body weapon, Romeo Doubs. You already have Brock Bowers and Genty. You have a couple of speedy guys. Adding in somebody of the type of a Romeo Doubs with Fernando, I think actually makes a lot of sense. So I like this little duo right here. 20, we got Isaiah Likely, who, by the way, like, I love Isaiah Likely. Him being the 20th best free agent, I kind of disagree. He hasn't had a season of over like 500 receiving yards or 600 or something like that. So I don't know, bit high for me. But I do think he's a hell of a talent that has been kind of held back by Baltimore and Mark Andrews a little bit. So Washington, yeah, that checks a lot of boxes. I think I made this move when I did my Commanders mock-off season, because it just makes a lot of sense. Washington needs more playmakers on their offense. Zach Ertz, I mean, probably done at this stage, or going to leave to go elsewhere because of that massive injury he had and his age. Isaiah Likely, very athletic, can play in the slot, can play on the inside, presents a different type of tight end that Jaden Daniels hasn't had in Washington. So I do like this fit a lot with Washington. Devin Lloyd going back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep, Kenneth Walker going back to the Seattle Seahawks. By the way, we have heard some rumblings that he might not be going back to the Seattle Seahawks, which I'd be a little surprised with, if I'm being honest with you. I think he definitely should return back. Him and Zach Charbonnet, if I'm Seattle, like, don't mess up what was a good thing. And I think if it's a good thing with Kenneth Walker, like, don't mess it up. Just stick with it. So I would like to see these two stay together, but we'll have to wait and see. What we got here? We have Malik Willis. I didn't recognize the face there for a second. Malik Willis going to Miami Dolphins. Yep. This is kind of the big time rumor right now about Jeff Hafley wanting to bring in Malik Willis to replace Tua. You do have Quinn Ewers there, who showed like legitimate life at the end of the season, so maybe you feel less prioritized to need a quarterback, but Malik Willis, Quinn Ewers compete for the starting job. I think Willis is a bit more proven at this stage of his career. I like what I saw up there in Green Bay. I think it does make a lot of sense for him to get the start in like a Miami situation. Here we go. Jalen Watson to Las Vegas Raiders. Ooh, bit of an in-division move here, I see. Look, Chiefs don't have a ton of money. Watson, really good player with good length, good size. They say it right here, very scheme versatile. Raiders need a lot of upgrades in their defense, and I think getting a Jalen Watson to play on the back end, I don't hate it. Now, I do worry because Watson has always had good safety play, good defensive line play, good linebacker play. Going to a Las Vegas that doesn't have a lot of those things set in stone does scare me a little bit, but this is a Las Vegas team that can take a bit of a fly here on Jalen Watson and see if it can work out because their back end is horrendous. Mike Evans, the Buffalo Bills. I don't think he's leaving Tampa Bay. I'd be surprised if he does. It would just feel wrong, but Buffalo makes a lot of sense for Mike Evans. We don't know if Mike's going to retire or what's going to happen, if he's going to stay. Injuries and all that stuff kind of hurt him this past year. But if he does want to try and go all in for a championship and does want to leave Tampa Bay, I think Buffalo makes a ton of sense. His body type, his play style with a Josh Allen, absolutely. I would love that. But Mike Evans, just stay in Tampa Bay, dude. Just stay in Tampa Bay. Reek Woolen going to the New York Jets. Okay, this is, I guess, their Sauce Gardner replacement. This was a unit last year that had 0 interceptions, so why not get somebody who has, 12 interceptions and over a 4-year career in Seattle? I think that also makes sense. He also mentioned, I also like the Commanders a lot too. I do as well. I think that makes so much sense for Reek Woolen. He's got some options this offseason. He could stay in Seattle. He can go to the Jets. He can go to Washington. Dallas needs a playmaker on their secondary next to Ron Bland. So good amount of options there. Quay Walker to the Washington Commanders. I like that. Much more athletic than Bobby Wagner at this stage of his career. You pair up the athleticism and downhill ability of Quay Walker with the athleticism and downhill ability of Frankie Louvu. I would like to see that quite a bit. That would be a nasty blitzing duo right there. And it would be a nice combination for a Dan Quinn system that obviously has gotten a ton out of Bobby Wagner, but they got to fill that need with a younger body. Quay Walker, I haven't seen this one before, but I actually quite like it. Alontae Taylor to the Los Angeles Rams. I love this fit. Size, length, solid enough athlete, has versatility to play inside and outside. This is a Rams secondary that needs multiple upgrades, and they could use a bit more mass, a bit more athleticism. I think Alontae fits a lot of their needs. John Franklin Myers to the Atlanta Falcons. Interesting. I feel like that defensive line took a big step forward. We'll see what happens with James Pierce Jr. because that's a whole other story for a different day. But I feel like that interior defensive line isn't horrendous, but I feel like every team should have some interest in John Franklin Myers, because if you can find a disruptor up the middle who probably won't cost you a ton because he is a little bit older and he might be a bit scheme dependent, but I feel like most teams should have a lot of interest in this guy. It's got a lot of versatility to play in multiple alignments, multiple gaps. He can get after the quarterback, and we saw it this year, what, 7.5 sacks? So, yeah, I think there would be a lot of interest in John Franklin Myers. Frankly, I'd be a little surprised if he returned to Denver. I'd be a little surprised by that. Braden Smith, Houston Texans, for sure. They got to fix that offensive line. Braden Smith going from one in division to another in division. Interesting. Odafe Owe, LA Chargers. Yeah, he's got to. LA, the Los Angeles Chargers got to get this thing done. They got to bring back Odafe Owe as soon as possible. Rasheed Walker to the Cleveland Browns. Yep, this makes a lot of sense. That Browns offensive line has realistically 3 to 4 spots they got to fill this offseason. Rasheed Walker's young. He's a starting caliber left tackle. Like, how often do you see that? How often do you see a free agent left tackle that is probably going to hit the market? Very, very rarely do you see that. You got one here in Rasheed Walker, who's a very good starter. I think the Browns would be very wise with their limited cap space to try and spend all of it to get Rasheed Walker. Breece Hall going back to the Jets. I think Arizona's also a fit here too, but if the Jets do want to bring him back, I think that makes some sense. Alec Pierce to Tennessee Titans. I love it. Alec Pierce in Tennessee under new offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. I absolutely, totally agree with him. That ability to stretch the ball down the field to make big time plays. Cam Ward, that playmaking ability, that deep ball accuracy. Alec Pierce in Tennessee. I absolutely love that fit. Jalen Phillips returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully he can take that big step forward now that he's been, a little bit removed from that injury. Hopefully he's looking good there. Daniel Jones, Indianapolis Colts. Yep, that's the move there. Ooh, interesting. Tyler Linderbaum to the New York Giants. I don't know if Linderbaum is like a big John Harbaugh guy. I mean, if he is, and yeah, the Giants desperately could use maybe a potential upgrade over John Michael Schmitz. Yeah, there we go. John Michael Schmitz. Yeah. Potential upgrade over John Michael Schmitz. John Michael Schmitz? Yeah, I'm sorry. John Michael Schmitz. A bit of an upgrade for them. Not a bit of an upgrade, a massive upgrade. Tyler Linderbaum is a hell of a starter. I think Los Angeles Chargers also make a ton of sense. George Pickens, the Dallas Cowboys, for sure had a breakout year. Returning to Dallas just makes a ton of sense. And lastly, ooh, interesting. Trey Hendrickson going to the Indianapolis Colts. Pair him up with Latu. Interesting. I don't know if the Colts have all the money in the world to do it, but if they're trying to prioritize a win-now mode in Indianapolis, sure, I think it makes sense, but they have to figure out that quarterback position first, and we'll see if Daniel Jones can stay healthy. But guys, let me know in the comment section below, what do you agree or disagree with in this article? And again, I want to give a big shout out here to Matt Bowen for the article. Shout out to ESPN. Hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.